their senior year, we're getting most of the juniors and seniors to take it. I usually don't start them off quite yet, especially when they're focusing on AP subject matter. But their senior year, we'll do what's called a micro certification, and that's provided by Microsoft.
Okay.
And it's called the Microsoft Technology Associate certification, and the micro certification that they're taking underneath of that is essentially just an introduction to programming using Java. And so as a senior, they'll take that, which is a great way for them to essentially slap something on their resume saying, hey, I've achieved this very basic benchmark of understanding, and gets their foot in the door with, internship opportunities and things like that, which we do have in our program of study. I have, at the moment, 6 seniors that go and intern at, we used to do a split between NetData and Fidelity Express. Now it's just Fidelity Express.
Okay.
So they're there right now. I think there's only 4 present today, but 4 seniors that are interning, and they're doing everything from software development to helping them set up their servers there. I think they just recently had, they have these big computer mainframes. They just went in and physically replaced the devices that housed all of their payment solutions and stuff
Wow.
like that.
So they're hands-on doing
Yeah.
the heavy lifting.
Yeah. So they get some cool experience there, and that's generally reserved. I think maybe if you fast track, you could do it your junior year, but it's generally reserved for seniors only.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different. There are a few different courses that they take and build up to that.
Mhm.
And they can earn potentially industry recognized basic level certification. They do the practicum or internship, and so they're getting that hands on. They're already doing the work, some of that work.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I think it's a good opportunity for them, and then for Fidelity Express as well. I know that they've had at this point, I think 2 or 3 students that were work to hire. So like they saw value in those students. The students were fortunate enough to stick locally and go to college at like Commerce or something like that. And they ended up hiring them on as full-time workers.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I think that's, well, no, now there's four students who are previous Silver Springs High School computer science nerds, made their way over there and got a job. So I think that's kind of the whole point of the internship program that we've set up, is facilitate that connection from.
My name is Luis Reyes, junior year of high school. Right, we are learning how to do 2D arrays. They're pretty advanced in the programming line we're doing compared to the beginner people who've barely even touched anything do programming. It is a journey to go through and look at these, because during the school does consider it as a language, and it pretty much is a language, to understand what it means and how it operates. Just like trying to use the word like they, there's like multiple uses for it, and there's multiple uses for different like letter and number inside programming. It does take a little effort to learn if you are willing to, but once you take that small bit of effort, it goes by really quick. And a lot of people do try it out in the beginning year for the programming 1 classes, even though not people do stay because it's not what they like. But with the people who do enjoy it and actually have a passion for it, they can excel in this sort of endorsement for a very long time. Because right now in the modern day life, we are using a lot of technology. We're carrying a small computer in our pockets, like majority of us are. And right now, we know that if we take this, we might advance human technology and stuff like that, and to help out with people. Because and there also is a stereotype of like, hey, you take programming, you're a nerd. Well, a little, but not that bad. We are called nerds, but it's not as strong as the word nerd back in like 1980s or 1990s. Like now, nerds are just they help out with people instead of being picked down in the corner. So if you're afraid of like just being bullied, or just like just
Don't be afraid.
just don't be afraid and try something new. If you don't like it, you just drop out, or find something else you love. It's not for everyone, but just try it and see.
I'm Harrison. This is AP Computer Science, and we basically just sit here doing different programming problems, trying to figure out these solutions to these.
Okay. So give us an example of like one of the problems.
So like currently this one is we're going through a matrix of things, like basically a spreadsheet, and we're trying to find values at certain locations. It's like, imagine this line here was like a 5x3 grid.
Okay.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to go through and find like a certain location and add up all the values around it, but not like any ones that are like 2 places to the left, only 1 place is to the left, or
So specific values for
Yeah.
specific.
specific values surrounding a specific given value.
This is a pretty challenging course, or
It can be challenging, it can be fairly easy, it just depends on which problem you're trying to solve. Usually the earlier problems in a certain lab are pretty straightforward. Like back when we were doing just plain arrays, we just had to sum up all of the values in the array, which was just like a few lines of code. But in some other ones, it's like you have to iterate through and count how many vowels are in a certain string of letters and then return a certain value depending on that.
okay. The more into it you get, the more.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's typically how it goes.
Well, now is this an area that you're interested in a future in, or?
Oh yeah, my brother actually works at Fidelity Express. I'm thinking of trying to intern there next year.
Yeah. Do you want to do programming or anything specific that you're wanting to do?
I do enjoy programming, so I think I'm probably going to go for that.
Okay.
It's the dream scenario. I mean, if I was in high school and I could do it over again, would be to apply myself my senior year, which I did not do. Then make my way over to an internship and continue on into working in the field of my study. So I think that's the dream of any young individual, is find something you love, work hard at it, and eventually pay off. So thankfully, the ones that work extra hard and are fortunate enough to live here locally and go to school here locally have that opportunity for themselves. So.
My ultimate goal would be to be able to work for myself,
Okay.
but I guess I'll start out with something like Fidelity, just get work experience.
Sure. Get your foot in the door, so to speak, and
Yeah,
start building a resume.
yeah.
Challenging.
It is a challenge because in the beginning of the year, you just throw right, like, it's not completely thrown, but into the deep end a little. But once you get bearings, you're a pro swimmer afterwards. So it's pretty nice.
Do you feel like an Olympian when you achieve? And
Yeah, I feel like an Olympian. And actually, there is a statement where the UAL main coach for programming says, we're not, how to say this, we don't build a program, we're the problem solvers. So everything we do, we solve problems with. Like, it's a challenge we have to do, because you're not gonna get it the first time. And if you do, like, congrats, like you like have that moment of glory. But it takes quite a while for us to just get, like, just a simple code of line done, because my partner Gavin, he just took that one line of code and took him a whole day to do. So it takes a while.
sounds like it takes a lot of persistence.
It takes a lot of persistence, and we're actually lucky enough to have a program on our computers that allows us to detect, like, any errors, like in Word, where there's a little red underline, tells us like that. But some people that have just programs where it don't tell you nothing, and you just kept trying and trying, and it's not. I'd say it's easier to learn without the handicaps, but with us we are lucky enough. And this is just one of many languages we learn. This is actually Java, and there's multiple, like C++, which is an older program, and the newest one is actually Python, which I think is actually being pushed away of some other program, but I forgot the name of it. And so it's also evolving, like, as we evolve. So
It's constantly
changing. So it's not the same program all the time. It's like how slang and, like, words like Nowadays, people are just using other words like back. Uh, let's see, just think of a word, like slick and just like other things like that, like jack. It's constantly changing, like our language. So every generation has to learn from like just the previous people who've learned it. Even though it might not help, it'll still help. So
You build on what they
Build.
said, but then you
have to
grow it
you
yourself.
have to grow it yourself. It's like someone like an elder gives you like a seed from their plant, and you plant that seed for yourself, and that goes on for the next generation. You're just like giving them the product of what you made, and they're making it their own.
Cybersecurity is a pretty emerging field, and I feel like a lot of people like to look at it as this niche, like, I don't know, I think of like the film The Matrix or something like
Right.
that, where they're like hacking on a computer terminal and preventing someone from overcoming their security protocols. But it's as a study, I feel like cybersecurity is something that people don't have a good grasp on, and it's something that I'm excited to teach here at the high school, because it's not just how to stop people, it's how to implement secure systems. Talking about computer systems, infrastructure, and hardware are like the three fundamentals, because everything starts with the physical device, then you get into the logical, abstract designs of how to protect yourself from intruders. But it gives a pretty well-rounded picture, I feel like, when we get into teaching it. But that's something brand new, so it'll be my first time teaching the course material. But a lot of the foundations of that course, as well as the computer programming course that we have set up, are based in programming. So, which is something I'm excited about. I've always loved programming. So, starting next year, I'll get to, I guess, get a new recruit of different mindset of students,
Right.
to discuss whatever their interest in
Okay.
security.
A lot of people are just terrified of programming once they see it up front. Because, like, a lot of times they have a misunderstanding, thinking that it's like in the movies, you're just going to be going crazy, like Matrix. And then once they see what it actually is, they just get overwhelmed and they quit. After you get the hang of basically what it actually is, while it's a lot more underwhelming than what the movies make it out to be, it gets easier after you figure out what it is. Because it's just trying to express any arbitrary question as purely logical.
We are competitive, and we actually get decent high scores for UI events. We got in we got in two 100s and maybe a couple 90s in one event, and that's pretty large. Yeah, that's pretty large for competitions. And sometimes we don't. Well, they do bring bigger schools because we get beat out by bigger schools like White House and Lindsdale, like those, because they have bigger programs and more people who are interested into the program, because they branch out to the younger people and say, hey, give it a try. But yeah, I think we are pretty good where we stand for competitive wise, and we're actually going to another competition if we don't make 2AO. It's called Code Quest. It's pretty much like other schools around that are like not just our district, but like a lot more people come and hang out, like kind of like a convention, but it's actually a competition. So you can meet other people who like coding and stuff like that, and you can make new friends. And we've seen a couple of montages and videos about it, and it seems really fun. And I'm really hoping to go to it, even though that means we're gonna lose UIL. But it's
a
our
good
experience.
opportunity.
Yeah, good opportunity experience to go to.
For the love of computer science, and then it's not just one of the big things, I guess, that has not necessarily held our program back, but that I'd like to see changed is an advocacy for more than just one gender. So females don't get they get every opportunity here at the school, but that we don't see a lot of females in computer science, and I think that's something that I'd like to see changed in the future. So in terms of the message that I'd like to spread is come one, come all. I'd love to see anyone that's interested in computer programming computer science, technology, I'm here for it. So
Okay, if they've got it, bring it, and
Yeah.
you'll put them to work.
yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with us. We appreciate it. And how many students do you have in your?
In
In
my
your-
program,
Mhm.
honestly, it's really, really small. Most of my classes, especially my upper level classes, are like 8 or less. I mean, they're really small courses, so, or really small sections. In total for programming, probably 50, 60, something like that.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's pretty
It's-
small. Like that's
it's right. It's small, but because of the work involved, that's a good number to get started with.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So that's first year all the way through fourth year is about that many
Okay.
students.